All right, big episode for Fantasy Football 2025. I'm giving you 10 players to avoid and never draft again in Fantasy Football 2025 or beyond. And the last two, you want to stay till the end, are complete shockers because one of them is going to the Pro Bowl this year. Because I'm recording this early in the year, everybody, but this video is going to be evergreen. You can watch it throughout the season because I'm never drafting these players again. These players are done. They never should be drafted. Most of these guys I was off years ago, yet the mainstream consensus that Sheep just told you to draft them, this year in early rounds, and they busted, as I said they would. So big episode here, right here, right now. If you're new to the channel, smash it, tap it, slap it, hit the thumbs up, and tell me in the comments below who is a player you're never, ever, ever going to draft again. Drop them below, okay? I'm going to rip through this list. We're not going to spend too much time here. The time it's in January right now, so I'm recording early content. We're jumping right into Fantasy Football 2025 without any hesitation. Guys, fantasy does not end. That's why you guys got to subscribe. You got to hit the thumbs up. This is the only channel giving you the truth to sports. Everyone else told you, last year, CMC, first overall. I told you he's going to bust. I was the only one telling you don't draft CMC. Now, mind you, he should be, I didn't put him on this list, but he should be on this list anyway. That's a bonus one for you. Don't ever draft CMC again, okay? That's the first thing. So if you want the truth of sports, hit subscribe and drop it below. Who's a player that's kind of screwed you a lot, you never, ever want to draft again, okay? So let's dive into these 10 players here. We're going to go, and again, the last two, make sure you stay to the end because you'd be surprised. These two guys had great seasons, yet I'm still not drafting them, okay? First player, do not draft ever again. He's a young quarterback. The guy I'm talking about was Anthony Richardson. Now, I'll tell you why I don't want to draft these guys again. I have reasoning for all of this. But one thing I do want to do as a disclaimer is that I'm going to mention this a couple times in the video. You always want to go for youth. Last year, I mentioned if you get the 16-round draft, which I'll link below, it's still early to get the 16 rounds, but again, I'm going to update the links below. You can get it. I'm going to be releasing, in February that you can pre-order it. But you want to go for young players. Brian Thomas Jr. is Lad McConkey's the world, and you get wide receiver later. Now, these guys are obviously going to bump up in value this year, but you want to go for youth. You want to go for upside. Now, the first guy, again, Anthony Richardson, is young, but he was ranked way too high. He was like the 5th overall quarterback last year. Very expensive. He finished QB 23. And again, I'm only including 17 weeks, okay, because we still got week 18 to play. But a lot of people are rested in week 18. We talked about Saquon Barkley being rested, could have broke Dickerson's records, but they decided to rest him. So we're talking 17. These are all based on 17 weeks in on 2024, how they finished 17 weeks in, okay? Anthony Richardson, QB 23, only played 11 games, missed your week 17. So imagine you had drafted this guy as a top quarterback, he was a 5th overall in the rankings. That's why rankings don't work. 16 rounds is the truth, right? But 5th overall, I told you to avoid this guy. We hadn't seen much out of him. We only saw a sample size, and he got hurt. And sure enough, he got hurt again. 11 games, missed your week 17, dealing with back spasms. Like, dude, you're young, you're healthy, you're capable, you got the best doctors, you can work that stuff out. Again, 61.6 passer rating, 12 interceptions, only 8 touchdowns, 6 rushing touchdowns, not bad, but Anthony Richardson just never ever drafted this guy. He's just not good. If a player was going to be good, he would have shined, and this was his year to shine. He had his opportunity. There's just better quarterbacks to get that are just more reliable, that are going to produce on a high level. Now, this past year, I told you, Josh Allen, make sure he's on all your teams because everybody was drafting certain guys that I'm going to mention on this list very early, which one guy didn't even include on here, which I'll give you a bonus right now. Oh my God, I can't believe he's not on here. Deebo Samuel, I thought I put him on this list. Deebo Samuel, everyone's drafting Deebo Samuel round 3. I'm like, dude, no, him and Ayuk, they're going to bust. I would not do that, right? So Deebo Samuel, another guy, there's a bonus for you. Don't draft. He just came out, before I recorded this video, said, oh, I was depressed after a Super Bowl. Dude, you got to put things in perspective. There's people starving. There's people, I was so depressed because I lost a Super Bowl. You don't know what I go through. Like, come on, man. Like, you lost a Super Bowl. It's a game. You get back on the horse. You're still making millions of dollars a year. You get over it. But Deebo Samuel was a big-time waste of a pick. And I was going back to what I was saying, I was grabbing Josh Allen. I was telling you guys to get Josh Allen because there's a lot of missed picks in those second or third rounds. Guys that I knew were going to bust. Guys like Ayuk, guys like Deebo Samuel. Guys even like Nico Collins who busted, or Keenan Allen was coming off round 3 to 4. Get yourself Josh Allen. I was telling people. But anyway, back to Anthony Richardson. Do not draft. Number 2 here, Rachaad White, do not draft. And I told people not to draft him this year. He was a very high draft capital guy. Not that high. He was like around 3 to 4. This guy last year, 2 years ago, 272 attempts, 3.6 yards per carry, under 1,000 yards. I told you, don't draft White. This year, Bucky Irving took over that backfield. Over 1,000 yards for Bucky compared to Rachaad White, only 613 rushing yards. And Bucky was taking over. He had 188 attempts compared to 144 Rachaad White. Averaged more yards per carry, averaged 5.5 yards per carry did Bucky compared to 3 whatever he had Rachaad White did this year. Listen, I told you Rachaad White was not that good. Now, Bucky was a 4th-round pick. White was a 3rd-round pick. I don't think that means anything because, again, talent prevails and rises to the top. I still think it might be, again, it's very early to tell. I'm recording this in January, but it may still be a committee. But Bucky, man, depending on where his ADP is, could be a solid guy on your roster for fantasy football 2025. But Rachaad White, you don't want to draft him again. He's just not that good. And we saw that 2 years ago. We saw it this past year, losing the job to Bucky. But yeah, everyone's telling you Rachaad White. But I saw it 2 years ago. Even though he was drafted high, he had 272 attempts. He could not crack that 1,000-yard rushing season. It's just like, dude, you got to get it done. You suck, okay? Number 3, Tony Pollard. I'm not going to spend too much time on this other than this guy missed your fantasy football championships. I told you not to draft this guy. He sucks. Finishing as what? Like he has RB 21 or something like that. Listen, Tony Pollard sucks, okay? Again, missing your fantasy football championships with the flu. Could have easily played. Sucks. He sucked on the Cowboys. He sucked on whatever team he plays on. The Titans, it doesn't matter. He's going to suck wherever he plays. He's not that good. He had a couple of good games. But don't ever draft Tony Pollard ever again, okay? Number 4, finished wide receiver 18. Again, this is 17 weeks in 2024. Did not include week 18. But wide receiver 18, under 1,000 yards is Tyreek Hill. He saw a significant drop in targets, in receptions. He had 170 targets 2 years ago compared to 120 this past year. 79 receptions compared to 119 the year before. And even the year before that, 119. Big fall off. Now you can say, well, Tua was hurt. But listen, I'm done with excuses, man. He's going into what, his 10th season? 9th, 10th season? This guy, I'm not drafting Tyreek Hill. Not doing it. And he was a 1st-round pick. Told you to avoid him. You got to go running back early. But Tyreek Hill, big-time waste of a pick. Don't ever draft this guy again. And again, we go back to my conversation. You want to go for youth, the Brian Thomas Jr.'s, the Lad McConkeys. You've got to go for those young guys that are value. Every year you get value at wide receiver, and you don't want to waste those early round picks on those guys, on wide receivers early when you need to secure the running back position early. You know what I'm saying? So Tyreek Hill, never drafting again. Number 5, Cooper Kupp, stay away. Played 12 games this year, got hurt the year before. I was off Cooper Kupp the year after his pinnacle year in 2021. In 2022, I was out on Cooper Kupp. Yeah, last year, everyone's telling you draft Cooper Kupp in 2024. Draft him third round. I'm like, dude, don't do it. Don't do it. And sure enough, he had a bad year. Finished outside the wide receiver 30. What is he? Wide receiver 34, 35, something like that. 9th season, only played 12 games. Cooper Kupp's done. Don't ever draft this guy. Again, he should have been off this train in 2022 when I told you don't draft him again. After that pinnacle season, there was a complete anomaly for him. He's just not that good, okay? And we saw Puka take over there, okay? Number 6, don't ever draft this guy ever again, is Keenan Allen. Finished wide receiver 33, again, including only the 17 weeks of last year. He's going into his 13th season, under 1,000 yards last year, 7 touchdowns. Now, I told you, Keenan Allen going to a new team. The only reason Keenan Allen did well 2 years ago was Justin Herbert was force-feeding him. I said, Caleb's coming in. He's a rookie. They got Roma Tuesday. They got other options. They got DJ Moore. Don't draft Keenan Allen. He's coming off round 4 and 5. I told you not to draft him. Now he's completely done. His career is completely over the cliff year. This guy, we're talking 13 seasons in the NFL. He's not young. Go for those wide receivers that are up and coming, that have shown talent earlier on, 1, 2, 3 years into the season. Good report their quarterback. Minimal wide receiver committee. Yes, wide receiver committees are emerging. You want to stay away from them. But I'm telling you, man, Keenan Allen, never, ever draft this guy again for fantasy football 2025 or ever. His career is done. Again, this is a list of people I will never, ever draft again. And like I said before, most of these guys, I'm telling you, I just avoid anyway, okay? Very, very important. I got 4 more, and these guys are going to shock you. Before I get into that, make sure, guys, I know a lot of people are out of fantasy right now. Head over to mybookie.ag, use code FFC, put down your first deposit, get a 50% match deposit. This is a site I use, mybookie.ag. Go create an account right now. I'm telling you, you're going to enhance your game watching experience. Fantasy football playoffs are here. I'm sorry, NFL playoffs are here. Sorry, fantasy football is done. Head over to mybookie.ag, use code FFC, put down your deposit, okay? This is the site I use, FFC, mybookie.ag. Go create an account. All right, number 7 here, never ever draft this tight end, is Kyle Pitts. I don't got to say too much. 587 yards, 4 touchdowns last year. Sucks. This guy was a top 4 pick in 2021 in the NFL draft, has done absolutely nothing. And he's had his share of quarterbacks where, they could have really helped him. Like, there's some decent, not the best quarterbacks, but he's out of excuses, man. He's had a bunch of people throwing him the ball, from Penix to Cousins and on and on. He's just not the guy. He's just not good. There's no other way to say it. Kyle Pitts, done. And you can say, well, maybe he has a year where he actually does something. We had Cooper Kupp, who's kind of an average wide receiver, had that pinnacle year. That could very well happen with Pitts, but the trajectory and the history is not looking good for Kyle Pitts. He's just never going to amount to where he was drafted. He's a major bust in reality and fantasy. Don't draft him, okay? 3 more. Again, the last 2 are kind of shocking because they had good seasons, but I don't copy and paste rankings, and I just go for, I go for talent, right? Number 8 here, never draft him again, is Javonte Williams, 3.6 yards per carry, RB, outside the 30, right? 4 touchdowns, 485 yards, had an opportunity to really shine. Bo Nix came in, was a decent quarterback. There's really no excuse. He's just not good. Period. Just never draft Javonte Williams. He'll never amount to anything big. Just done. Never, ever waste your time with guys that are This is mediocrity, guys. Don't ever draft mediocre players. Javonte, done. Never, ever draft this guy again, okay? Number 9. These are the 2. People are like, oh, my God, why wouldn't you draft him again? They're having a good season, right? RB8, top 10 running back in fantasy in 2024. Again, 17 weeks into the season, Alvin Kamara. Now, Alvin Kamara did not play the full season. The fact that he finished top 10 is pretty impressive to that. I'll give him that. But dealing with groin, already showing signs, missing games, missed a bunch of games. And here's the thing, right? A couple things I don't like about him. 9th season, everybody. Okay? And has had 0. And you can say, well, he does it in the receiving game, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. 9 seasons, 0 1,000-yard rushing season. Dude, you're a running back. I don't care. You have to have a 1,000-yard season. If you don't have a 1,000-yard season, you just suck. Period. I don't want to spend too much time on him. Old, done, team is suspect. I don't know what the quarterback situation is like. I don't like this team. Saints need a lot of work. I don't trust them. Injuries already starting to happen. Old. Can't rush for 1,000 yards to save his life. Alvin Kamara, never again. Okay? Last guy. Before I get to this guy, he's a Pro Bowler this year. I want to say, make sure you guys do comment below. I want to make this interactive. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, turn on the bell. I go year-round with fantasy content. If you want direct access to me, Patreon group below. Make sure you guys do drop it below. I want to know who really screwed you this past year. Who are you never drafting again? Drop it in the comments below. Very, very important. Hit the thumbs up. Really helps the channel getting the truth out to the masses, okay? Hopefully not your league mates, but it will get to the masses, which we want to help more people because the consensus, the Sheeps aren't helping people win their leagues. They're just not, okay? Last guy here, never drafting again, and I'll tell you why, is Jonathan Taylor. Finished RB 18, 1,254 yards, Pro Bowler, and going into his 6th season next year, 4.7 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns. Why aren't you drafting him? I don't know, man. He doesn't excite me, and I don't think the quarterback situation excites me. I still think Anthony Richardson's he's annoying. He's going to take away volume from him when he is playing. He's not a true. Again, I like teams that are established. If I'm drafting a running back, I want to know, what's going on in that situation? Are we going to have injuries to Anthony Richardson? Is he going to be in? Is there going to be games where Richardson's going to steal goal line work? And then there's going to be games where Flacco comes in. Is that going to help him? Is that not going to help him? Is he going to be dropping the ball near the goal line like he did in week, 15, 16, where he literally was running and people had him started in his fantasy lineup and he drops the ball, fell out of his hands prior to entering, breaking the plane of the goal line. Stuff like that really turns me off. And he hadn't done anything since 2021, had a couple down years, injuries, missed a couple of games this year. Finally put together a decent season, but it was just a a little inconsistent. And yeah, again, he had some good games. He's a good player. He just doesn't excite me. I like the young, hungry, dynamic, explosive players that are really going to get me excited, you know? So again, Taylor's just not that guy. It feels like he was very 2021. I don't think he's ever going to hit those numbers again. And those are my thoughts. I'm pretty good at predicting players that are going to decline or just not be good. Again, I got to see where his value is for 2025. If I can get him as my RB3, maybe. If I can get him in the 4th round, 5th round, I may consider it, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He's going to come off in 2nd round, I would guess. 1st, 2nd round, people are going to want him off this decent year. I won't be drafting him. Again, other guys like Mixon, you know, Pro Bowl this year. Bijan didn't make the Pro Bowl. Mixon did, which is crazy. It's nuts. So Mixon's another guy, older, done, just not going to do it. Taylor, I like young, dynamic, hungry players. Okay, those are my thoughts. 10 players to avoid, busts, whatever you want to call them. Do not draft these guys for 2025 fantasy football. I know it's very early, but this list is going to hold ground. Will I change my mind going into the season? Probably not. I don't care for any of these players. I'm just never going to draft them. And again, gave you a couple bonuses like Deebo Samuel, just not that good. All right. If you're new to the channel, smash your tap and slap it. Head on over to mybookie.ag. Go create an account, FFC. And I'll see you guys in the next video and keep the content rolling. Have yourself an outstanding day. I'm out.